All right, so with the release of 4.2, we now have additional information, the Celestial Invitation. So this is essentially the 50-50 lose pool. It was initially just the, main characters right here, the standard banner characters, but then the next three characters that were added were Seele, Blade, and Xuan. Now it's going to be Yanqing, Argenti, and Silver Wolf, and where you have the option to select what characters you are able to lose your 50-50 to. Firstly, I want to specify this because this is what I am doing. I am going to make sure I'm putting Yanqing and Argenti as well as Xuan, not because they're good or I need, I'm missing eidolons. I just don't have them, and for collection purposes, I just want to make sure I try to get them because those are characters I just skipped on. So that aside, right, let's go ahead and look at who actually you should select to make sure that if you lose your 50-52, it won't be as bad, right? And we're just going to be going over their base inherent kit. Eidolons do matter tremendously, but you can go in yourself and look at what exactly these characters are going to be doing at further Eidolon investments. So starting off, we'll start with the bottom first, and then we'll work our way up. We'll only do C, B, A, and S tier for just practical purposes. This D tier is just like a placeholder for where they're at. So starting here, and I want to go ahead and start with like supporting characters, and we'll move over to DPS characters. So starting off, we'll start with Jeppy here, Jeopard, and I'm going to put him at C tier. The reasoning why I'm going to put him at C tier is that he actually has severe competition when it comes to shield mechanics. And the biggest thing is, granted, if you played during this period, you got Dan Heng PT for free, who is just an infinitely better shielding character. And then you also have the likes of, where are you? Aventurine, I can't even see him right here. Aventurine, another shielding character that will automatically put up a shield if you get hit 7 total times for characters who already have a shield that he put up. Jeopard does not have that mechanic. Jeopard will only put a shield up when he is able to, and it's not even like a follow-up like with Aventurine or even Dan Heng PT has that ability to be able to do that. And they also, just the frequency in which they put a shield up is just so good. And they actually do relatively a little bit more damage and provide a little bit more. Aventurine being able to do defense reduction for the enemy with his ultimate, and Dan Heng PT being able to select an ally on your team to further boost their attack stat. Jeopard, all he does is just put a shield up. And then he also just if you have his light cone, will just absorb damage, like dictate all that damage and aggravate all the enemies so they attack him. Outside of that, he doesn't really do a whole lot. Next up is going to be Bailu, and Bailu is at this point like a poor man healer. Like there's just so many good healers now in the game, it is ridiculous. And also just preservation units in general. I mean, heck, you have a Nova Flame character who is going to be coming out, that being Huahua, who just massively outclasses her. And you also have another character who I've already made a video on that was just out, who has been out quite frequently, and a lot of people say you should get her, is Hyacinth. And it's really unfortunate because initially when it first came out in the game, Bailu was like the best healing character in the game, but at this current point, she has just fallen off dramatically and needs a Nova Flame. Next up is going to be Yanqing, and it's really unfortunate because he kind of like masquerades as a DPS character in a hunt character's body. Like, even on release of the game, he really didn't do a whole lot of great damage, and there were other characters, even like in the next couple subsequent patches of the game's release, who just completely outclassed him. And now it's just a running meme if you get him, and if you get him, that's like almost worst case scenario. And it's really bad and unfortunate, but it is what it is at this current instance. All right, now we go possibly up to the next tier. Actually, no, never mind. We do have Xuan, and I'm putting Xuan in C tier as well, which is really crazy to say initially upon her release as well. She was arguably one of, if not the best character to have for any team composition, no matter what it was, especially for like the Quantum team. But what she able to do is able to provide damage mitigation for the whole team, being able to heal everybody and doing relatively-ish decent damage when she was initially out. But now, because of HP inflation and everything going on, she has just completely fallen out of any viable team composition. Even like a quantum team, she's really not even that useful anymore. Moving up to B tier, and the first character I'm going to be putting in B tier, actually no, jokes aside, haha, Argenti, C tier. Just Argenti's possibly one of the worst characters in the game. Even upon his release, his damage was very mediocre, and now it's just like, I don't even know what to say. He's just extremely bad. Now moving up to B tier, it is going to be the counter units, that being Yanqing and that being Clara. And the reasoning why that they are so high up above all the other characters, and you might be wondering, well, wait a minute, like Japard has aggregate on himself and both of them have it as well. The thing why Clara and Yanqing are actually further above instead of Japard is because they have follow-ups. And having a team that has follow-ups is actually like a viable team option. And they are going to be able to provide a lot of defensive capabilities, especially if you pair them up with someone like a Venturine. Then you have somebody who is going to be absorbing damage, providing a follow-up, right? So that's two separate instances of actions that a Venturine wants to be able to get to that 7 to be able to provide more shielding for your team. That is strictly the only reasoning why they are in B tier. Is it effective in complete like late endgame content? No, not really. But for somebody who is struggling in mid tier, or like even with the story on some stuff, they are actually extremely valuable and providing survivability while also providing actual damage in comparison to Japard. Next up in B tier probably is gonna be, oh man, this is, now we're getting the real nitty gritty of it. I'm probably gonna be putting Silver Wolf here, and the reasoning why I'm putting Silver Wolf in B tier and not higher is because her key mechanic that was extremely important when she was released was being able to implant a quote-unquote bug onto the enemy, applying a weakness of an element on your team. It was completely random. You had some way to dictate what it was. Like, let's say if you had quantum and imagination or imaginary on the team and the enemy had neither, it was going to be one of those two. So it really depended on your team options. Now it's just the first character on your team while also providing defense reduction. But the thing about the bug ability now is that we have so many characters in terms of DPS options that either A, ignore toughness, or B, implant their own elemental weakness onto the enemy to further boost their own individual damage. So she actually has lost quite a bit of actual viability when it comes to supporting capabilities. Next up is going to be Seele, and Seele, I have no words, honestly. I didn't start playing when the game was first initially released. I played when Kafka got released, but I knew that Seele was like a really strong character when she was released. And the sad and funny part is that like within 2 patches she was already power crept by Jing Yuan and Imbibitor Lune, which is funny. Her Nova Flame has provided a little bit of additional damage to her, but her core mechanic and kit is just really just outdated at this point, and the direction that Honkai has gone, it's just not viable anymore. I will have a damage comparison, like a full test of what an E2 Seele looks like, more as a joke. Honestly, I'm not really expecting much. Next up, we have the remaining characters, and these characters I think are the most valuable when it comes to just overall who you could possibly lose a 50-50 to. So jumping up here into A tier, I am going to be putting Himeko. And Himeko is up here strictly because of the fact that she is somewhat a weakness break character. She doesn't get increased damage when a character's weakness broken and you attack them. Her her usefulness and ability lies in the fact that she has an AoE mechanic in her ultimate and her follow-up with her little suitcase droid. If you weakness break 3 enemies, then she launches a follow-up attack. So she is like a jack of all trades, master of none, but the amount of damage she's able to provide and the consistency to help further enhance like another character with another follow-up, or you pair her up with Jade, like it's actually pretty useful and interesting. She was very good when Pure Fiction was first initially released, but obviously has fallen off a lot. But I still think she's actually somewhat viable for somebody who is like, you know, relatively starting out or like in the middle-ish game. I do think Himeko is a decent option. Next up is going to be Jing Yuan, and Jing Yuan, for like a long time, a running meme is whenever a new character was released or a new game mode like Pure Fiction, it was it's a Jing Yuan buff, right? Jing Yuan has not had a Nova Flame, and he honestly, we're probably going to be looking to see him get a Nova Flame relatively soon. His damage is interesting, being able to do like a AoE damage with himself and then having Lightning Lord. The issue with Lightning Lord is that he does not count as a memo sprite. He's just a summon, so he does not get like a full-on buff from other characters. To my knowledge, I don't have Jing Yuan, so if I'm wrong, obviously correct me. But the fact that he's able to do a lot of damage with his AoE and Lightning Lord just inherently is very good. And depending on the number of hits you're able to accumulate before Lightning Lord takes action, Lightning Lord's action is advanced forward. So very good and very consistent high pressure damage that Jing Yuan is actually capable of doing. Next is going to be Blade, and I think Blade is actually the top of A tier because of the fact that he's now based on his HP, not attack or crit damage and all that stuff. He's an HP scaling character who does a lot of damage, not in the same sense as obviously like the Remembrance team because he's an HP scaling unit, but because of other factors, right? You have Tribby, you have Hyacinth, you have characters, or Hyacinth, you have characters who are fully capable of providing his survivability, and he also has a follow-up that deals AoE damage, and he's very, very strong. He's not in the same caliber as when he was first released, arguably one of the better characters in the game in terms of DPS capabilities, but he is still a viable option, especially of the wind element. If you don't have anybody, you manage to get him, congratulations, you actually have a somewhat usable and decent option when it comes to DPS of a specific element. Next up is going to be Welt's Nova Flame is just stupid strong. I don't even need to say much. You need to just look it up. It's so ridiculously strong, and you can run essentially like a quote-unquote free-to-play tier 0 Acheron, well, not tier 0, a cost 0 Acheron team with Welt and be extremely good with defense reduction, with being able to imprison the enemies to reduce their action, the amount of damage he's able to do now. It's crazy. Welt's Nova Flame, like, that should have been given to a summonable character, but I can kind of see why, because of lore reasons, why he was buffed the way he was. Very, very strong. And number one is going to be Bronya. And Bronya, the funny thing is that she is a 1.0 character, but she's still extremely, extremely valuable. The reasoning why is very similar to a character like Sunday. You have a character who can advance action forward somebody, and you also have a character who can provide a buff to their crit damage based on a percentage of her own crit damage, while also increasing crit rate for everybody and crit damage with her ultimate, and also boosting a little bit of energy regeneration. And if you have your light cone for her, it's very good because if you use your skill, you have a possibility to regain a skill point. So a lot of valuable assets when it comes to Bronya, and if you just continually buff her up all the way to E6, it's very, very strong. And I know a lot of people did that when they lost all the 50/50s and had the initial option to choose characters. They just left Bronya on there. But yeah, that's going to be my suggestions for people who want to adjust their 50/50 losses, certain characters, because of the addition of 3 new characters. But this is where I think the current 50/50 loss pool value wise is at right now.